tough global migration policies, what fit for the future global intersection? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this other edition of your discursive and knowledge sharing program. It is a Global Insight brought to you by Globus, and today we are looking at the consequences of the new migration policies adopted by countries, particularly in the European Union and elsewhere around the world, looking at how this is going to affect international cooperation at the social level, also looking at the economic consequences of these migration policies and why there is this major shift of policies patterning the issue of migration and how this will actually counteract the laws governing immigration or issues pertaining to migration that is under the United Nations or other rights bodies. And of course, today's episode of Global Insight now invites us to understand in greater details the peculiarities of these migration policies and how it is helping to bring about political changes, and can we say it is a shift in the in terms of ideologies. Now we are going to analyze, like, from the EU's Pact on Migration and Asylum, which actually seeks to fortify borders and expedite deportations, to Argentina's recent measures that mimic the restrictive narratives polarized in the United States. Governments are actually employing tougher stances on migration that raise pressing questions about human rights, international cooperation, and the socio-economic impact on global communities. So today's discussion, we are going to actually analyze the root causes of the migration, asking why there is a major shift in these or towards the policies, shifts that are becoming more actually harder than what we experienced in the last years. And together with a panel of experts, we're going to enter into the details of such shifts in narratives pertaining migration laws, especially among countries in Europe. And I will join you to unveil the panel right after the jingle. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just tuning in, you're on to your Pan-African media, and this is Global Insight proposed to you by Globals. We're taking you straight away to the United States of America, precisely to Washington, D.C., where we're being joined by Mr. ACHILLE, who is a corporate finance expert and also the CEO of Valuation, Washington Valuation Center. You're most welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Clarisse, for the invitation. It's the Washington Valuation Group. It's a topic that is very decisive in this new century, the topic of immigration or migrations in general. We see a lot of countries around the world tightening their policies on migration or immigration, making it harder for people to come into their countries. Some are very protectionist, like the U.S. It's with the new government led by President Trump. The European Union is trying to do the same with the new laws and new legislation that has been passed to reduce the migrations within European unions. So all these things are things that are showing that there's a significant shift in the world today that is impacting everybody, and we need to figure out what is happening and how to overcome these. So thank you for the invitation. This topic is very interesting, and I look forward to discussing with my co-panelists. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving importance to it, Mr. Eke. It is very important because it has to do with humanity. And it is a pleasure for us also to welcome Professor JAGDISH KHATRI, author, speaker, and global analyst who is joining us from India. You're welcome to Global Insight this day, Professor.
Thank you, madam. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks to Globus also. And this is a really very important topic because the way things are happening all around the world, not only in one continent, but all around the world, there is hardening of stance on with regard to migrants. But I would like to take an overall view, and I would like to say that there are 3 M's which are responsible, which are held responsible for everything. If there is a law and order problem in a country, so these 3 are migrants, minorities, and marginalized people. If there is a rise in crime, rise in unemployment, economic conditions are bad in a country, they are the soft targets for the governments and the other agencies, or once again, the migrants, minorities, and the marginalized people. Now, it's not only the forced displacement, even in internal displacement, these 3 are the most vulnerable sections of society. So, they need to be seen from a more humanitarian point of view rather than being seen as a children of lesser God. So that's what I feel, that we need to really understand it from a humanitarian point of view while not ignoring the national security and other aspects also. Thank you very much for this invitation. Thank you.
And I also want to thank you for giving importance to a discussion like this as we continue to edify the global world on some of the very pertinent issues that warrant our actually interest to see how to continue to shape a future that is inclusive. If you're just joining in, you are most welcome. And we are going to be joined subsequently by Kim Poole and also Steve Gill from the United States of America. But then let's go to understanding the maybe contextualizing our discussion this day with you, Mr. Achille Eke, by trying to understand what migration is all about, especially in the 21st century, and also highlighting some key trends of migration or policies which have actually been a call for concern in contemporary global intersection.
Right. So the tightening of global migration policies raises profound questions about justice, equity, and shared humanity, especially when viewed through the Pan-African lens that we are here. Across Europe, for example, or North America, you know, and even some parts of the global South, we see that border controls are becoming more militarized and very selective, you know, often targeting migrants from different parts of the world, especially Africa and the Middle East, you know, under the pretext of security or labor efficiency. Yet these restrictive measures ignore the historic and structural causes of migration, many of which are rooted in the legacy of colonial exploitation and contemporary economic dependency. So, from the Mediterranean tragedies, claiming thousands of African lives annually, to the European Union's deals with transit countries like Libya or Tunisia, for that matter, to outsource migration control, the message is clear, right? So wealthier nations are willing to finance exclusion rather than inclusion. So similarly, the United States southern border approach, while focused on Latin America, signals a growing global trend toward fortification, building walls, rather than cooperation. So from a Pan-Africanist perspective that I am, these policies highlight the unfinished struggle for autonomy, for freedom, and dignity for those people, for Africa, for those migrants. Africa's youth, for example, migrate not out of choice, right, but necessity. It's driven by inequality in the global economic order that we have today. And this is why a lot of frustration comes from these BRICS countries. So the fate of global migration depends on whether nations can switch or pivot from punitive control to real, genuine partnerships, meaning investing in equitable trade, industrialization and education within the entire global South. So we looked at Rwanda's innovation, for example. It's a hub, that we see today, and even Ghana's diaspora, it's very engaging. They have very engaging initiatives that show how, intra-African cooperation, could create hope, in many countries, in Africa, that will reduce the push factor of migration. And we also can notice the visa, the requirements, the non-visa requirements that many countries are applying today as policies in Africa. Many countries are doing away with visa requirements. So the future must not be one of walls and detention centers, but of rethought or reimagined mobility based on mutual respect. Now, if the 21st century is to be just, then Africa's right to move, to build, and to thrive must be recognized as intrinsic to humanity's collective progress.
Okay, thank you so much for the introductory remarks pertaining our topic for discussion, Mr. Achille Ekei. Subsequently, we're going to enter into the complex analysis of the topic and why it is an issue in contemporary society. And getting the preliminaries from you, Professor JAGDISH KHATRI, what can you say, probably a personal appraisal or experience that highlights a real-life impact of current migration policies on individuals?
When we talk of migration, we must not only see post-migration, but there are 4 types of migrations. One is internal migration within a country.
Yeah.
So from rural to urban, or from one urban place to another urban place, people are moving. The second one is external migration, where the people want to shift to another country out of their choice. And third is voluntary migration, where people are in search of good quality of life, good housing, good education, income level. So that's why they choose. And the fourth one that is most dangerous is the forced migration, which may be due to wars and conflicts, natural disasters, or sometimes out of political pressure also. So these four types of migrations are there, but whether it is internal or whether it is forced one, once again I would like to say that the migrants are the soft targets for now in the present society, what we see is toxic debates happening on TV and other places about which are anti-migration, anti-migrants. And whenever there is some crime happening somewhere in Europe or in US, so search is on for that. That must be from some uh, global South people only, or Latin American or African uh, people only. So that is a dangerous trend that we have statements from the top leaders also saying that these undocumented migrants, they are criminals and they are going to poison our blood, they are going to take our jobs, and they are going to catch and eat our pets also. So this is the kind of rhetoric that we are witnessing in present day world, and which is just poisoning the minds of people, which was not the case 2 decades back. So I mean, somehow these rhetoric explanations, they are also responsible for anti-migrants attitude that we are seeing nowadays.
Bringing us, of course, to this juncture, analyzing the implications of such a shift to the global cooperation, especially when we have to highlight people-to-people diplomacy and how these contemporary harsh migration policies actually impeding that maybe derailing the trajectory. And just to note that Kim Poole has joined us at the moment. She's a founding fellow of the Teaching Artists Institute and joining from the United States of America. We are welcome to the program today. And we are talking migration. And what is your appraisal, Kim, pertaining the hashtags that coming from the European Union, or is it from particular countries like the United States of America and the United Kingdom, among others?
Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate this conversation. I think as a Pan-African media, television, and in the context of our discussion, it's important at this time in history that we take a step back and we take a step in and we look at what is happening within our own borders, what is happening within our own nation states. As a Black woman living in the United States, I first acknowledge my ancestors, an incredible book, The Warmth of Other Suns. It speaks to the largest migration of people globally, which were my ancestors living in the South of the United States as a result of generations of oppression in the transatlantic enslavement trade. And when they eventually sought freedom and were successful, they began to migrate out of the South, moving into industries in the north and the western regions of the country. And so now we're at another phase in our history as Black people living in the United States, realizing that we too sing Africa. We are also Africans living in America, and as a result, we should look towards a borderless Africa, one that is inclusive of us. In 2003, the African Union decided that they would write and legislate Article 3Q, which identified Black people living not just in the United States, but outside of Africa, in Europe, and in Brazil, and in the Caribbean, any region of the world outside of Africa where Black people were found. They were considered the sixth region. And as a result, for the past 20 years, they've been trying to actualize and add teeth to what that definition truly means. And what we've decided in the diaspora is that it means we have a borderless Africa, one that is accessible to us in spite of the barriers of visa. As someone that carries a blue passport, they see it as a benefit.